Hey all, Leah Klett here, and I am so excited because my guest today is DeVon Franklin. He is a Hollywood producer and a New York Times best-selling author, and his latest book is called It Takes a Woman, and this is a memoir really honoring all the women in his life who have played such a formative role in his success. And so I am just so excited to talk to DeVon and hear more about this timely book. I love this project that you have out right now because I'm a mom. And so I love when these projects come out that really honor moms and powerful women in our lives. So give me the backstory behind It Takes a Woman.
Yes, I mean, I'm so excited about this book. This is an Audible original. So it's an audio book that I created exclusively for Audible, and it's called It Takes a Woman. I, as a man, want to celebrate women. And part of the way to do that is to celebrate the women in my own life, in my own family. My father died when I was 9 years old. He died of a heart attack when he was 36. And that tragedy just completely rocked our family. And my mother brought together my grandmother and my grandmother's seven sisters, and I called them the village to help ensure that me and my two brothers had a strong foundation. And so this book, I tell our story, and it's not just me. The listener gets a chance to hear the voices of my mom and five of my great aunts that are still alive. The youngest is 76, the oldest is 96, and they're all featured throughout the entire book. One of the most personal projects I've ever done. And I do believe that it really might be one of the most successful.
Well, DeVon, why release this book now? What is it about this time that made you want to honor these women so publicly?
Well, Mother's Day is upon us, and it's a time of year when we do focus on our mothers, and I just really wanted to, while we're already thinking about mom or whoever the mother figure may have been in our life, I felt like it's time, to release this book and to celebrate the impact of women. There's an African proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child, and I believe that, and I also believe it takes a woman. And I really wanted during this period of time when we're thinking about women and thinking about mothers to put a project like this out in the world that can be a part of that thought and be a part of the celebration.
What was it like emotionally writing this book? Because you talk about some hard things. You talk about beautiful things, but you also talk about some hard things. So what was it like going back and sort of reliving some of these things?
Oh wow, it was really hard. It was the hardest book I've ever had to do because I had to go back. I mean, I start the book taking the listener right to the moment when my mother and me and my brothers were in the morgue and my father who died was there. And my mother tells me and my brothers, go kiss your father goodbye. And that's how I start the book. So it's really a story. And I wanted to bring the listener into this so they understand. Because see, so often I can do an interview with you and say, oh, I'm DeVon Franklin, fill in the blank. I produce, I write, I do all these things. And it's so easy for someone just to say, oh, take that at face value. But you don't understand the tragedy and the pain that all this comes from. I could have been a statistic. So I really wanted the listener to really just go on this journey of intimately understanding where I come from, where my family comes from. We are just like every other family. I'm just like every other person. The rain falls on the just and the unjust. But God is still faithful. And so I really wanted the listener to hear the tragedy so they can also celebrate the triumph.
Yeah, that's so good. What were some of the greatest lessons that you've learned from some of these women in your life?
Oh, wow. I mean, the beautiful thing about the book is, in addition to telling our story, you also get a chance to hear their words of wisdom, and so many words of wisdom. One of the words of wisdom I mentioned in the book, which I live by now, is you have to live it to learn it. And a lot of times, you want to tell people how they should do something and you want them just to do it. Well, a lot of times you have to learn, you have to go learn by living. It's very hard intellectually to teach a child how to ride a bike. Am I right? It's like they're going to have to get on the bike and work through falling and getting up and scraping their knee. But that's how they learn to ultimately get their balance. So you have to live it to learn it is one of the words of wisdom that's in the book. There's also a lot of words of wisdom on how to deal with death, how to deal with grief, how to deal with money,
Mm.
how to deal with love and relationships. I mean, the book is filled with so much wisdom that is shared from the village and my mother.
Yeah. There are so many single parent homes in the United States. What
Yeah.
encouragement do you have for single moms who, I know even in my own life, it's hard to ever feel like, and I have a wonderfully supportive husband, but it's hard to feel like you ever get it right.
Okay, this is great. This is why any single mom listening to this or watching this should listen to the book. It Takes a Woman. You can listen to it right now. It's on Audible. It's a love letter to single mothers. It is a lifeline to single mothers because what you hear underneath the surface for this book is a single mother gave her all to save her three boys,
Mhm.
and she succeeded. That's the underpinning. So there were moments when she didn't know how she was going to feed us. She didn't know how she was going to clothe us. She didn't even have money for rent. She didn't even know the car wouldn't be there. She didn't know how she was going to get us to school. There were so many things that my mother, as a single mother, had to figure out and do. And her only hope was in the future, when we were younger, in the future, we would be okay.
Yeah.
And so now here, I have gotten to a place through God's grace to be able to be at a place in life where Audible would come to me and say, "Hey, we want you to tell your story." And I have a chance to do a book like this. Well, yes, it's a book, but the book is the payoff to the sacrifices my single mother made. So at the end of the book, one of the key takeaways is that she did the best with what she could.
Yeah.
And guess what? Here we are. I'm talking to you. What she did was more than enough. So every single mother out there listening to this, don't worry about getting it right. There's no right. Do the best you can with what you have and trust and know that that's going to be more than enough.
I love that you say that. Talk a little bit more about the importance of having empathy for our parents. I know becoming a mom myself, I can show my mom a lot more grace for some of the things that, even as a kid, maybe I didn't love. But talk about how you can have empathy for your parents.
Yeah, you can and you should, but this is why I'm so passionate about this book because it's so transparent. There's a chapter called "If You Don't Know Me by Now," and I talk about how I didn't have empathy for my mother
Yeah.
growing up. I had no empathy for her. I just thought she didn't know anything about me, and she was always focused on what I wasn't doing right instead of celebrating what I was doing right. And there's a whole chapter about my conversation with her as a young kid when I said that to her and what she said to me. So, this idea that, you can misunderstand your parent, I think all of us go through it. And in the book, you hear not only the misunderstanding, but then you also hear the reconciliation. And what I learned growing up is that, oh, she was young too. Like when I think about my mother had me when she was 25 years old.
Yeah.
Now, if I had, and I was her second child. So I couldn't even imagine at 25 years old what I was doing at 25, having two kids. Like, so the idea that she was so young having these three boys and to see what she did as I got older, I gained an appreciation. And I also stopped the blame game. I
Mm.
would encourage anyone listening to this, if you have issues with your parents and you're blaming them for where you are now, stop it.
Yeah.
Stop. The requirement for parenting is not perfection because nobody can do it perfect. So you may have come through a parent that may not have been the best parent for you. That's okay. But thank them for what they did do. And if
Mm.
all you can thank them for is they gave you life, thank them for that. So that you can move forward in gratitude, not in bitterness. Because I know, especially when we have ideas of what should have happened or what could have happened or what we wish would have happened, especially with our parents, we can hold a grudge, we can be bitter, we can be resentful, but those emotions take us nowhere. I wanted to do this book, It Takes a Woman, as it was a catharsis for me personally,
Mhm.
to work out whatever issues I had. I was able to sit down and talk to my mother about them. And the listener is going to hear us working it out. And I'm so grateful for her sacrifices and all that she did. And I can, as an adult, put in perspective what she was able to do and appreciate the things that she just wasn't capable of doing. And that's okay.
Yeah. Ultimately, what is your hope for this book? What do you hope both parents and kids get out of it when they listen to this?
Yeah, I really, really hope that what people get out of it is hope. I mean, you know, it's like I'm the middle child of three boys raised by a single mother. Um, you know, and we could have been a statistic. But because of the sacrifices of her and the village and God intervening and the practice and the power of faith, we all survived. My older brother is an executive in marketing. My younger brother is a pastor, and I'm doing, you know, a wide variety of things. And I want the listener to take away hope that you cannot control the cards that life will deal, but with love and a support system, you absolutely can control how those cards are played. And when someone puts the book down, the text messages I've been getting, the Facebook messages, the Instagram messages, people are just telling me how much it is inspiring them, it's uplifting them. And they also say thank you for the transparency. But I
Yeah.
think we live in a world that's a lot of presenting. And
Mm.
this book is there's no presentation. I mean, literally, like when you hear the book from the first sentence in the book, you know, I think the listener's like, wow, this is a real book. This is not like, oh, let us tell you the nice family you think we are. Let me bring you into the pain we've experienced. And so I really want the listener to take away hope, and that all things work together for the good of those that love him and are called according to his purpose.
Yeah, that's so good. Now, you do have so many exciting projects coming up. I know you're always working on a million awesome things, but you have a new series called Kingdom Business coming out.
Yeah.
And you also have a movie about Flamin' Hot Cheetos coming out, which I'm so
Yes.
excited about. What can you tell us
Yes.
about these projects?
Oh, I'm excited about Kingdom Business. It's a new series that comes out at the end of May, and it's on BET Plus. It's 8 hours of a 1 hour drama. It is, it's. I'm trying to just. I mean, you got to watch it. It's a music-driven show set in the world of the gospel music industry, and the lead is Yolanda Adams, who is a real-life gospel music legend. This is the first time she's acted on a television show, and she does a phenomenal job. We also have a young star rising. Her name is Soraya, and she plays the character that's kind of threatening the reign of the Yolanda Adams character. And you gotta see how the sparks fly. That all drops on May 19th, and then I'm in post production on Flamin' Hot, which is a new movie that I'm doing for Searchlight and Hulu and Disney, and it's about the creator and the driving force behind Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and his name is Richard Montanez. And he started as a Mexican janitor working for Frito Lay, and came up with the idea to not only put chili powder on a Cheeto, but to also take that product to the Latino market in Southern California. And as a result, Flamin' Hot Cheetos became what we all know it to be, a cultural revolution. And this movie is going to blow you away. I can't wait for you to see it.
I can't wait to see it either. And DeVon, this is an interesting time for Hollywood. There's a lot of controversy over some of the projects coming out, but what drives your passion for creating family-friendly content that is safe for Christians and for parents to watch with their kids?
Yeah, I go back to the Bible. Like as Christians, we got to stand on the foundation of the Bible. The Bible is a book filled with stories, and in those stories, God did not pull punches. So when you look at the inspiration that He gave each writer of the various books, these stories are told in all the truth that they were experienced, and that's always going to be my guiding light. Truth. What is the truth of this story, and how can me, being a modern day content creator, create content that is less truthful than the word that we base our faith on? I won't do that. I'm going to try to make content that is as truthful, that is as connected, that is as visceral and as emotional, so that anyone connecting to any movie or content that I do, they will find themselves in it. They will connect to a character. And my hope is they say, wow, that was real. That was true. Because that truth transforms. And I don't want to make content that people say, oh, that's fine. No, no, I want to make truthful content. So that's usually my guiding light. And I draw that directly from the word of God.